Well, hello, lovelies. Ah, February already. Rabbit, rabbit, rabbit. How did we get here? Okay, so I'm going to do the month ahead. Um, I normally try and do it a bit before the day, but I've had to get a new computer this week, and then I've had, oh, I did my call for the people that are at the $25 level and $50 level, even though they're closed now. But anyway, you get the idea. And I found half the charts hadn't transferred to the new computer. So it was like, oh. Anyway, let's talk about this month ahead. Well, it starts with a bang. Is anybody feeling a little bit feisty today? A little bit butty heady, a bit loggerheads with people? Well, Mars Pluto is pretty intense, a square, especially in Aries and Capricorn. If you think about Aries and Capricorn, okay, it's the ram and the goat, the horns, locking horns, a square is squaring off. There's a lot of kind of kind of butt heading kind of energy today. I kind of laughed because I said that I'm proud I've only kind of shredded one guy on Facebook so far today. But anyway, here's Mars, okay, and here's Pluto. So you can see as I start recording at 11:09 after having fixed my Zoom, fabulous support. We're this is at 21:24. This is 21:39. Mars is the faster moving planet. So here you're getting a little lesson. So you can see that we're not exact. So we'll look till I'm going to move it and I will point at them again. We'll find where Mars is at 21:39. Okay, so about 8 o'clock, just after 8 o'clock, or around then, mountain time, this will be exact. So you can see that this is going to go all day. So beware of locking horns with people is basically what I'm saying. If you get a chance to listen to this, you've probably read the article though. So what's coming up next? Well, I'm only going to look at the bigger ones because my daily ones are for that. But on the 3rd, Venus is speeding along now after her retrograde that was in Scorpio, that was Scorpio and Libra. Venus retrograded into Libra and then back into Scorpio. But now she's whizzing along, okay? She's building up speed. She will continue to build up speed all during 2019 because her next retrograde isn't till spring of 2020. So if we think about, like, there was October to, I think it's April 2020. So that is what, 18, 19 months. About 9 months in, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, she'll be full speed. Oh, it's 11:11. Make a wish. Okay. But she's building up speed now. So she's going through the signs pretty quickly. All right. So she moves into Capricorn, and we've got a huge Capricorn influence all year. And this adds to it. She won't be in there for that long, but when Venus moves into Capricorn, she'll get a bit more serious about money and relationships. People always think of Venus as love and peace and beauty, and she is all that. She's creative, all that kind of thing, but she also represents the natural world and money. So she'll be in, I'm just going to give you a quick next sign change. She will be in Capricorn until March the 1st. So basically for February, she's going to be in Capricorn. So, you know, expect things to, your thoughts to turn to, you know, consolidating savings, clearing debt, that kind of thing, building your solid foundation, making money in your business if you've got one, you know, how to increase, you know, it's probably about doing your taxes, all that kind of stuff too. Just gets a bit more serious about these things. And also in relationships, it gets a bit more sober. A bit more committed though as well, and diligent. You know, in Venus in Sagittarius was a lot of fun, but she's very freedom loving. So in Capricorn, she gets more serious. Now that's not, you know, people go all serious, but not necessarily a bad thing. So February the 4th, we have a new moon at 15 Aquarius. It's a bit past it there. We did the Weirdly Magical podcast about the new moon, which I will share again in here, Patreon. I suggest you subscribe to our podcast on iTunes and or whatever, Stitcher, there's various, it's on all these podcast channels. Weirdly Magical Podcast. You can find your favorite podcast provider and get it on your phone and listen to Jen and I talking about each lunation, because we give a lot of information around that and around the energies around the time. But you are the only ones that get this video more months ahead forecast from just me. But anyway, the new moon in Aquarius is going to be a bit of a break-free time. You know, it's at 15 degrees, which is the middle degree, and it's kind of a pivot point. It's also, you know, we're moving into the age of Aquarius. And, you know, I know we have a new moon and a full moon in Aquarius every year, but this one at the middle degree, and we're having these series of new moons at 15 degrees, plus all the other energies. I keep saying it, but we're really hurtling down this portal into it. Now, Uranus is the ruler of the new moon. He's just about into Taurus. So that's a change of energy. You're feeling this shift, change coming. The new moon is aspecting Jupiter in Sagittarius, and this is an air sign. The new moon in Aquarius is an air sign, so it's very mental, of the mind. Jupiter in Sagittarius is the teacher, the hierophant, the philosopher. He's very fiery, but very exploratory. And fire and air, you know, air blows the flame, fans the flames of fire. So all this fire and air on this new moon. And a new moon is a new beginning. It's a real start, okay? So I just want to quickly go back to today, because I forgot to mention something that I discovered yesterday. Later today, after I record this, and then tomorrow, the moon is going to occult these two, and she's going to do it every month, because it's to do with the declination, which is how far from the ecliptic they both are. So it's unusual to have so many occultations in a year, and especially, you know, with this Capricorn emphasis. So to look at my post, I will say it is like a mini eclipse every month, or two, because every time she occults these two, every month it's like a mini eclipse. And with Saturn in Capricorn being like the patriarchy, basically, and Pluto in Capricorn kind of undermining the patriarchy, then these occultations are also taking us into these kind of strong portal of change into the age of Aquarius. Incidentally, most astrologers kind of think we're really firmly into the age of Aquarius when Pluto moves into Aquarius, which is in 2023. So you can see in the big scheme of things, we're really close. Not that anything changes overnight, but things are changing really rapidly right now. Okay, sorry, I just kind of, you know, But back to that new moon. Okay. Yeah, so it's a very freedom, very fiery, very visionary. You know, everybody makes New Year's resolutions and goals, but really, this week's new moon is a real great time to kind of set your long-term vision, to really kind of get clear on what your goals are. And a lot of it is to do with how we can come together as humanitarians to help save the world. I won't go on about it. Listen to the podcast too. On the 7th, you know, the new moon aspect to Jupiter wasn't exact, but the sun exactly aspects Jupiter on the 7th. So this kind of fire and air energy continues over those few days. So, you know, you haven't got just this one day. You've got, where are we now? February the 1st. Of course we are. Rabbit, rabbit, rabbit again. And this is Friday. Monday, you've got all next week to really kind of fire up these synapses, get the ideas flowing. What do you want to do? What you want your life to look like? What change do you want to bring in the world? You know, where do you want to be authentic? Where do you want to set yourself apart? What do you want to explore? All that kind of energy. On the 10th of February, now I'm just doing the major aspects, all right. But on the 10th of February, Mercury, where are we? Oh, 10th. Mercury enters Pisces. Now, to go back to that new moon on the 4th, Mercury was pretty conjunct. And Mercury is the mind too. So I said Aquarius is this air sign. It's got Lilith conjunct. I forgot to mention that. It's very, Lilith is the wild, you know, it's a very wild and fiery wildfire form, a new moon. But then by the 10th, Mercury moves into Pisces, and our connection, empathic thought processes get a lot more spiritual, a lot more mystical. Thought can be a bit, your thought processes can be a little confusing in Pisces, okay? And do remember that at some point in this month, we will enter the shadow of Mercury retrograde. When Mercury gets to, bear with me 1 second, I just got to look that one up. I normally have a printed list, but I'm a bit behind, so I'm looking at my calendar. When Mercury gets to 16 Pisces, conjunct Neptune, that's when Mercury enters the shadow of the retrograde, but we'll kind of alert that when it gets there. And the fact that Mercury will be conjunct Neptune, the ruler of Pisces, when it gets to 16 degrees is an indication that this is going to be a bit of a confusing doozy of a Mercury retrograde. But of course, it's because we're being asked to surrender to this, to allowing the cosmic energy to run into and through us. And really, we're being asked to like kind of go with the flow, thinking wise, even more so than a normal Mercury retrograde. But anyway, when Mercury enters Pisces, things will start to get a little bit that way. On the 12th, this, you know, and you'll be feeling, don't think these things happen in isolation, all right? But to just go forward a few more hours. So it is on February the 12th, but it's late on February the 12th. So it'll be 13th for some of you in Europe. Mars and Uranus meet at the last degree of Aries. that is potentially a very explosive energy. If you think about Uranus, Lord of Lightning Bolts, sorry, I'm just getting up. I want to find the Chandra symbol for this, so bear with me. If you think of Uranus, Lord of Lightning Bolts, Lord of Awakenings, because it's light bulb moments, because he rules that air sign Aquarius, okay, where the mind's just going kapow kind of thing. Then Mars is our will and our drive, but Mars is got to get it done kind of thing. And this is all in this last degree of Aries before Uranus leaves Aries for the last time in 84 years. You can kind of feel the pressure of this energy, all right, for this meetup. There could be literal explosions, but there could be fabulous new awarenesses, all right? So I want to read you, oh no, I don't want Taurus 30. That's not fitting at all. That's an earth sign. Let me go to the right one. I want to read you the Chandra symbol for that degree. And remember this date, February the 12th, because it's going to be a bit of shock and awe. Okay, and massive awarenesses. Okay, right. So an anatomist delivers a lecture on the kidneys, knowing about the things that others would rather pass on by, absorbed within the excremental, the margins, the cracks, preoccupied with matters of critical awareness and pragmatic considerations, you somewhat decadently repeat over and again patterns of viewing yourself and others as dysfunctional machines or poorly put together bits and pieces. Being so conversant with the little mind that you are a walking encyclopedia of trivia, having made it your business to specialize in determining what has gone wrong, what is the problem here, ultimately and essentially playing back variations on one's self-image as being off course and hopelessly wrong-headed, given to exaggerated negative impressions, at times even condemning self and the world to being unworthy and unredeemable. Now, what my feeling is that is saying is that kind of all these awarenesses are going to come to us. We're going to go, oh, this is everything. All our limiting beliefs are going to come to the fore. All the things we've deemed wrong with us and unworthy and unredeemable are going to come into our mind, and we're going to be asked to cut it out. Mars is going to say, cut this out. We're all unique. We are all machines that are put together by bits and pieces, all the planets within us. And you could say we're all dysfunctional. So in that respect, we're all functional. So that's my take on that anyway. You're going to get this sudden awareness that you have to cut this out, of thinking there's something wrong with you, of thinking there's something wrong with others. Stop being so judgy and saying, this is what's wrong with you. They're just different. And maybe once we accept the others and the differences, then we can start to come together. But it's going to be an intense day, very intense, and a lead up to it. All right. Kind of a big release when Mars moves on by, once Mars starts to fade on the 13th, things are going to start to really fade and really move on. And then when Mars enters Taurus on the 14th or 15th, depending where you are, you should be feeling a lot more grounded. Mars in Taurus, Mars doesn't always like Taurus, because Mars is like go, 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 and Taurus is earth and plodding and likes a slow pace and likes comfort. But it will slow Mars down, and it will help you to focus on making things real, making all these awarenesses that you've got. It will focus it will bring the focus and say, okay, it's time to make things manifest, bring it down, really create this stuff. It's very creative, Taurus. All right. Incidentally, I don't know what the date is, but during this month, the year of the Earth Pig begins as well. I think it's February the 5th or the 15th. It could be the 15th. But anyway, I'm a pig, so to speak, or a boar, whichever you want to say. And this is reflected with these ingresses into Taurus too. You know, Taurus, I always feel is very earthy pig. It's kind of wallowing in muck. It likes to be comfortable. It likes to have its stuff around it. It can be a bit too materialistic, like to have too much stuff, if you like. But well, there's a judgment for you. I don't want too much stuff, so that's my own judgment. I'm having to work on my pig and having just enough instead of having too much, like I've got in my office now. So anyway, you get the idea. Mars will slow down in Taurus, can get a bit frustrated, can be a bit like, I want to move on, and Taurus is going, no, it's time to really bring it down. So just bring it down. Grounding. It's middle of February. Get outside a little bit if you can. Hopefully we'll have patches of bare grass again, where I can get my feet on the grass and where it's not too freaking cold. Anyway, on the 17th, though, that Uranus is aspected again. So that degree that I've talked about is aspected from the air sign of that Uranus rules. So Aquarius. So you not only had Mars going, cut it out. Now, because Aquarius is about goals and vision and making these big connections kind of thing that are kind of not from in here, they kind of come from elsewhere. So this is slightly different feel to Mars on it, but it's very wowy, awakening again, and very disruptive, discordant, all that kind of energy. But it's more this, you know, it's a nice aspect. It's a sextile. It's an opportunity. So after, I kind of feel like the Mars-Uranus one might be a bit painful, might bring up all those things that are wrong, as I've said. But then days later, the 17th, we get the Sun, which is our core, saying this is how to individuate and know that there's nothing wrong with you. You are all that you need. You are okay. That's not to say you shouldn't, try to do socially acceptable behavior a little bit. You don't want to be awful, but it's this constant inner meanie, beating yourself up kind of energy that we need to cut out. Okay. So that's going to be another big awakening kind of aspect. So it's a bit of a month of awakening in some ways. Then on the 18th, the next day, I'll kind of just go a few hours ahead. The Sun moves into Pisces, and I will stop and point it out again when I get it there. The Sun moves into Pisces, and remember I said that when Mercury reaches 16 degrees, which will be the next day, the shadow of the next Mercury retrograde starts. But we also have the Sun going into Pisces just before it. So I used to really be uncomfortable with Pisces energy because I'm very mutable, air and fire, and Pisces energy squares my strong stuff because it's Sagittarius and Gemini. So Pisces is here, Sagittarius and Gemini is over here, and so it's an awkward aspect to all my energy. But I've had to become comfortable with it because it's this Neptune transit has been doing a number on me for quite a long time. But when the Sun moves in and Mercury joins Neptune, I'm going to talk about this all together. And then Mercury moves the next day to the shadow at 16 degrees, okay? things are gonna get very foggy, very murky, but very dreamy, very creative. If you have any kind of creative ambitions or want to kind of increase your kind of connection with source and the collective, yeah, that's collective unconscious. Sorry. Then, starting February 18th is really the time to do it, because you're going to be in this like gorgeous, delirious fog, really, but don't expect to really make rational things. I really would suggest, if you need to buy anything mechanical new, do it before this time. I'm not normally a big one for saying that don't do it during a Mercury retrograde, sign contracts, all that kind of stuff. But this one is going to be intense. I'm thinking, in fact, it just occurred to me I could do half the work. I'm thinking of kind of putting all the stuff together about my taxes, but not going to see the tax guy until after. Till after this all finishes, right at the end of tax season. I think I might do for once, but that's another thing, because things are going to get in this, be careful driving. People will be driving like assholes in this because they just will not be paying attention. But it's a time for, dreaming and creative expression and movies and getting lost and faith and idealism and all that kind of glorious stuff, and for looking at the world around you and realizing finding the beauty in it. It's really a time for that, and build it, just feeling the connection with the cosmic soup. So it's going to be quite a month of it, right until March, really, when the sun moves to go. Let's go ahead a month just to quickly look. So March 20th or 21st, my anniversary, then the sun will move out. When does Mercury stations direct? On not until 28th of March, though. So maybe I'll try and get my taxes in before, actually. Anyway, something to think about if I can. I don't even know if I've got all the documents yet. But anyway, you get the idea. So I'm going to go back a month and back to days. On the 19th, right after the sun enters Pisces, we have a full moon at 0 Virgo. So I'm just going to go back a few hours. So it's another full moon at the 0 degree. Of course, Jen and I will be doing a podcast for this on the Weirdly Magical podcast again. But 0 degrees, we've had several. I've lost count, actually. How many? 0 is the Fool in the tarot. It's full of possibilities. All these full moons, I think, are giving us this emotional. We've got the North Node in Cancer for 18 months, starting a while back. And this is about validation and acknowledgement of emotions. And Cancer is ruled by the moon. And here we have all these full moons at 0 degrees, really asking us to look at this, all these possibilities that really stepping into emotional life, as well as just kind of this rational patriarchal kind of I always get confused between right and left brain, but it's about really allowing our emotions and knowing that it's okay to be an emotional being. We are emotional beings as well as thinking beings. Okay, we had, what's his name, Descartes was, I think, therefore I am. Well, it's also I feel, therefore I am, really. So we need to realize that we are equally both feelings and thought. And interestingly, Virgo, where the moon is on this full moon, is a sign ruled by Mercury, which is the mind, but it's an earth sign. And this is about bringing all this mysticism down to practical things. It's about becoming whole. Virgo is one who is whole unto herself. So if you think about the wholeness of you, so we've been through all this, there's nothing wrong with me, seeing all the things wrong with you and then saying cut it out. And then here we have the possibility of acknowledging that you are a whole human being. And when you are whole in mind and emotion, then you are more balanced. So that's my take. Wow. So really, there's not many other major aspects for the rest of the month. On the 1st of March, Venus enters Aquarius, but that's March. I just want to check my calendar a little bit. Let me go back. And so that's the 19th. On the 22nd, we have a Mercury square Jupiter aspect. Remember I said, this is at Pisces, so let's have a look. What day did I say? 22nd. Mercury's fully in the shadow and will move to square Jupiter. So we've got this ongoing Jupiter-Neptune square all year, 3 passes of it. And it's about, increased vision, ideals, faith, belief, also bringing some delusion and confusion. With Mercury in the shadow, there's going to be some big ideas come in here and big information possibly as well. And that could come in physical form, or it could come from wherever. It could come in your meditation, okay? So that's pretty big. Also on the 22nd, we've got Venus conjunct Pluto. That's kind of a bit worrying about the financial markets, and it could be about changing up what's not working with money for you. I really think Venus in Capricorn is more about the money aspect. Okay. I'm only going to look at squares and oppositions. And, lunations and things, we're going to get those on my daily posts. So on, that's actually on the 1st. And I think I mentioned that already. Oh, no, I didn't. So let's go to the 1st of February or close. Because, of course, it's a shorter month. We go to lunar months. But that's... As I said, Venus is rocking along at a clip. I'm going to move her along. And here she is. She aspects and squares off to Uranus. Coming on the back of a conjunction to Pluto from Venus, there could be some shocks again in the business world and finances. So just, I don't play the markets. We've got the 401k and we're in that for the long term. So, what happens will happen. It'll recover, hopefully. But to diversify, Uranus could be seen as diversification here too. Do some other investments if you've got money to invest. If you've got no money to invest, think differently about how you can create your solid foundations, which is Capricorn. So that's it for the month. We've got quite a year ahead, guys, Anyway, what was I going to say? Some of you, a couple of you joined me for Jen and my Recreating Wholeness webinar yesterday. I'd love to be able to share it with you, but I can't because, it's a joint thing and it's a separate kind of business. But we are going to be selling the recording and the PDF for $30. But since it was $25 for those that attended live, if any other Patreon wants to buy it, then you can have it for $25. You just have to PayPal me the money. Just message me for the PayPal address and I can send you the Dropbox link. I think it was a fabulous webinar, but no pressure. I normally give discounts to patrons, so that's the only discount I can give because it's kind of a joint thing. But awesome. So yeah, have a great month, and I'll be seeing you on live streams and things as well.